The great hall of the Zephyrian command ship stretched for miles in every direction. Its walls pulsed with living biolight that changed colors with the moods of its occupants. At the center of this vast space, Commander Vextar floated in his energy form, a being of pure light and thought who had conquered more worlds than any other Zephyrian in the last 1,000 years. Around him, representatives from the 12 species of the hegemony gathered for their daily briefing. The Kralik stood at attention, their cybernetic parts gleaming silver against their dark skin. The Thesari moved as one mind, their insect bodies creating perfect formations. The other species arranged themselves according to their rank in the great hierarchy that ruled the galaxy. For 3,000 years, the Zephyrian hegemony had been the supreme power among the stars. They had conquered 10,000 worlds and made slaves of countless species. Their philosophy was simple: the strong rule, the weak serve, and the Zephyrians were the strongest of all. "Report," Vextar commanded, his voice echoing through the minds of every being in the hall. General Kregstor of the Kralik stepped forward. His metal arm extended a holographic display that showed a small spiral galaxy. "Commander, we have completed the survey of Sector 7749. 43 new worlds identified. 31 show signs of primitive life. Only one has achieved basic space travel." Vextar examined the data with interest. New conquests always pleased him. Each victory added to his legendary status among the hegemony. His energy form brightened as he studied the potential targets. "Show me the most interesting prospect," he ordered. The hologram shifted to focus on a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. "This planet is called Earth by its inhabitants. The species calls itself human. They have recently developed faster than light travel, but their technology is still very basic. Population approximately 8 billion. The other commanders laughed at this information. 8 billion primitives on one world seemed like easy prey. The hegemony had conquered species with far greater numbers and much better technology. But one voice did not join the laughter. Ambassador Kethmore of the Vritek species remained silent. His insect features showed concern rather than amusement. As a diplomat, he had studied thousands of species before their conquest. Something about the human data worried him. "Permission to speak, Commander," Kethmore requested. Vextar's form dimmed slightly with annoyance. The Vritek were useful for their intelligence gathering, but they often showed weakness when facing conquest decisions. "Speak quickly, Ambassador." Kethmore activated his own display. Images of human history flashed through the air. Wars, revolutions, disasters, and recoveries played out in quick succession. "I have studied this species extensively, Commander. They show unusual patterns of behavior that concern me." "Such as?" Vextar asked impatiently. "They do not follow normal submission patterns when faced with superior force. In their history, smaller groups have repeatedly defeated larger, better-equipped enemies through persistence and adaptation. They have a concept they call spite, continuing to fight even when victory seems impossible." The laughter grew louder among the other commanders. General Kregstor's cybernetic eye focused on the human images with amusement. "Ambassador, you worry too much. Every primitive species has tales of ancient victories. It means nothing against modern hegemony technology." Kethmore's mandibles clicked nervously. "With respect, General, humans are different. They have never been conquered by an outside force and made to stay conquered. Even their own kind cannot keep them subdued for long periods. They adapt quickly and seem to thrive under pressure." "Enough," Vextar commanded. His energy form flared with irritation. "Ambassador Kethmore, your concerns are noted but irrelevant. These humans are barely past the Stone Age compared to our technology. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no bioships. What could they possibly do against the might of the hegemony?" The data display showed human military capabilities: chemical rockets, metal bullets, primitive nuclear weapons. To the assembled commanders, it looked like children's toys compared to their advanced biotechnology and energy weapons. "I recommend caution, Commander," Kethmore insisted. "Perhaps we should study them longer before attempting conquest. Send diplomatic missions first. Learn their weaknesses." This suggestion brought outright anger from the War Council. Hive Queen Zasara of the Thesari stepped forward, her 1,000 voices speaking as one. "The ambassador suggests we show fear to primitives? The hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species. We conquer them." "The ambassador forgets his place," added Biolord Shenka of the Morphic Collective. "His job is to gather intelligence, not make strategic decisions. These humans will fall like all the others. Vextar studied the Earth data one more time. The planet was rich in resources. The population was large enough to provide plenty of workers, but not so large as to require extensive military commitment. It seemed like a perfect target for a quick, glorious victory. The decision is made, Vextar announced. We will follow standard conquest protocol. The Third Fleet will travel to this Earth and demand surrender. When the humans see our power, they will submit like every species before them. The commanders cheered this decision. Another easy victory for the hegemony. Another world to add to their empire. Another species to serve their greatness. Only Kethmore remained silent. He had seen something in the human data that the others missed or chose to ignore. The way humans fought each other showed patterns that worried him deeply. They did not fight like civilized species who understood when they were beaten. They fought with emotion and desperation that made them unpredictable. But his warnings had been dismissed. The hegemony's arrogance would not allow them to consider that primitives might pose any real threat. They had conquered the galaxy through overwhelming technological superiority. Why should these humans be any different? As the meeting ended, Kethmore approached Commander Vextar privately. Commander, I must make one final plea. Allow me to study these humans more before we attack. Something about them is not normal. Vexitar's energy form pulsed with annoyance. Ambassador, your cowardice disappoints me. Perhaps too much time studying weak species has made you forget the strength of the hegemony. These humans will surrender within days of our arrival, just like all the others. But what if they don't? Kethmore asked. Then we will destroy them and take their world anyway. Vextar replied coldly. Either outcome serves the hegemony. Now prepare your intelligence reports. I want to know everything about their leaders and military installations. Kethmore bowed and left the chamber. He would do his duty and prepare the intelligence reports. But deep inside he felt a growing dread about this mission. The humans were different from other species the hegemony had faced. They showed signs of behavior that could cause serious problems for a standard conquest. As he worked through the night, analyzing human culture and history, one fact kept troubling him. In all his studies of conquered species, he had never found one that seemed to actually enjoy fighting against impossible odds. Most species fought to survive. Humans seemed to fight because they refused to give up, even when giving up made logical sense. This difference might not matter against the overwhelming power of the hegemony, but if it did matter, Kethmore feared that the hegemony was about to make the biggest mistake in their 3,000-year history. The Third Fleet began preparing for departure to Earth. The conquest would begin soon. The massive bioships appeared over Earth without warning. 3 living vessels, each the size of a major city, took positions above New York, London, and Beijing. Their organic hulls pulsed with alien light patterns that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Within hours, every government on Earth knew that first contact with alien life had finally happened. Commander Vextar floated in the command chamber of his flagship, watching the primitive world below through biosensors that could see through atmosphere and steel alike. The planet looked peaceful from space, but he knew the panic that must be spreading among the humans. Fear was always the first response when the hegemony arrived at a new world. Begin standard first contact protocol, he ordered his crew. The bioship sent their message simultaneously to every communication device on Earth. The translation systems, perfected through 3,000 years of conquest, spoke in every human language at once. People of Earth, we are the Zephyrian hegemony. We rule this galaxy and all life within it. Your world now belongs to us. You will surrender your weapons and submit to our authority. Resistance will result in the destruction of your species. You have 24 hours to comply. In the United Nations building in New York, world leaders stared at screens showing the alien message. Some wept, some prayed, some called for immediate surrender to save human lives. The aliens had demonstrated their power simply by arriving undetected and positioning massive ships over Earth's greatest cities. But Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force had a different reaction. She stood in the Pentagon War Room, studying radar images of the alien vessels while her staff panicked around her. Chen had spent her entire military career preparing for threats to human survival. This was just a bigger threat than she had ever imagined. Analysis, she demanded from her science team. Dr. Marcus Webb, her chief technology officer, pulled up what little data they had gathered. The ships appear to be biological rather than mechanical. They're using some form of energy shield that our sensors can barely penetrate. Their position suggests they can fire on any target on Earth within minutes. Weaknesses? Chen asked, unknown. We need more time to study them. Chen looked around the room at her frightened staff. These were good people, trained soldiers and scientists, but they were thinking like prey animals. The aliens expected fear and surrender. That much was clear from their message. Get me a direct line to every military leader on Earth, Chen ordered. Emergency protocol. Full data sharing. I don't care about national secrets anymore. Admiral, what are you planning? Webb asked nervously. The aliens made a mistake, Chen replied. They gave us 24 hours. That tells me they expect us to spend that time panicking and arguing about surrender. Instead, we're going to use every minute to learn about them and prepare to fight back. Fight back? Dr. Webb stared at her in shock. Admiral, those ships are massive. Our weapons might not even scratch them. Maybe, Chen agreed, but I'd rather die fighting than live as slaves. Within hours, something unprecedented in human history began happening. Every nation on Earth started sharing military technology and intelligence with their former enemies. Russian scientists worked with American engineers. Chinese generals coordinated with European commanders. The threat of extinction had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. It had united humanity. Meanwhile, aboard the Hegemony flagship, Commander Vextar watched the human response with growing interest. Instead of the expected chaos and surrender negotiations, his sensors detected massive increases in communication traffic and military activity. Humans were moving equipment, mobilizing forces, and working together in ways that seemed impossible for such a fractured species. Curious, he mused to his subordinates. They appear to be organizing resistance rather than preparing for surrender. General Krextor studied the sensor data with his cybernetic implants. Perhaps they do not fully understand our power, Commander. Should we provide a more convincing demonstration? Not yet, Vextar decided. Let us observe their preparations. It might be amusing to see what these primitives think they can accomplish. On Earth, the 24-hour deadline passed without surrender. Instead, Admiral Chen broadcast humanity's response to the alien fleet. Zephyrian Hegemony, this is Admiral Sarah Chen speaking for the people of Earth. We have received your surrender demand. Our answer is no. We will not submit to slavery. We will not give up our freedom. If you want our world, you will have to take it from us. Aboard the bioships, the alien commanders reacted with surprise and amusement. No species had ever rejected their initial surrender demand. It simply did not happen in their experience. Fascinating, Vextar commented. They actually believe they can resist us. This may be more entertaining than I expected. He opened a communication channel to Earth. When his energy form appeared on screens worldwide, humans saw their first clear image of their enemy, a being of pure light and arrogance. Admiral Chen, your species disappoints me. I had hoped you were intelligent enough to recognize superior force when you saw it. Since you require a demonstration of our power, you shall have one. The lead bioship extended a weapon that looked like a living tentacle made of energy. It focused on an abandoned military base in the Nevada desert and fired a beam of plasma that turned the entire installation into glass. The demonstration was visible from orbit and confirmed humanity's worst fears about alien capabilities. But instead of the terror and surrender Vextar expected, the human response surprised him again. Military forces worldwide began moving to defensive positions. Communication traffic increased rather than decreased. The humans were not panicking. They were adapting. Dr. Elena Vasquez, working in an underground laboratory beneath the Pentagon, studied recordings of the alien weapon with fascination rather than fear. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she found the alien technology more interesting than terrifying. It's definitely biological, she reported to Admiral Chen. The weapon appears to be a living organism that converts matter into plasma. The ship itself seems to be one massive organism rather than a constructed vessel. What does that tell us? Chen asked. It tells us they can be killed, Vasquez replied. Everything biological has weaknesses. We just need to find them. The stalemate continued for another day. The hegemony expected quick surrender after their demonstration. Instead, they watched humans fortify positions, share technology, and prepare for war with a determination that no other species had ever shown. Commander, General Krextor reported, our biosensors detect unusual activity across the planet. The humans appear to be manufacturing weapons and modifying existing military equipment. They are also conducting what appear to be medical experiments on volunteers. Vextar studied this information with growing irritation. The humans were supposed to be cowering in fear, not preparing for battle. Their response made no logical sense. Perhaps they need a closer demonstration of our superiority, he decided. Deploy ground forces to major population centers. Capture their leaders. Once they see our warriors up close, they will understand the futility of resistance. Shall we use full force, Commander? Krextor asked eagerly. No, Vextar replied. Use minimal force. We want to capture this world intact, not destroy it. These humans just need to be taught their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. This decision would prove to be the hegemony's first major mistake. They were treating humanity like every other species they had conquered. Logical beings who would surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. But humans were not logical when their survival was threatened. They were desperate, angry, and completely unwilling to accept defeat. As the first hegemony dropships descended toward Earth's major cities, Admiral Chen issued final orders to all human forces. This is it, people. Everything we've worked for comes down to the next few hours. Remember, we're not just fighting for our own lives. We're fighting for the right of our species to remain free. Make every shot count. The ground war was about to begin, and neither side fully understood what they were getting into. The hegemony dropships landed in major cities across Earth like falling meteors. Each vessel disgorged hundreds of alien warriors into the streets of humanity's greatest population centers. The Kralix shock troops emerged first. 7-foot-tall cybernetic beings with armor that could stop tank shells and weapons that fired superheated plasma. Behind them came swarms of Thessari warrior drones, insect creatures that moved with perfect coordination and struck with razor-sharp claws. General Krextor led the assault on New York City himself. His cybernetic implants interfaced directly with his troops, giving him perfect real-time control of the battle. This was how the hegemony had conquered 10,000 worlds, with overwhelming technological superiority and flawless tactical coordination. But within the first hour of fighting, something went wrong. The humans did not fight like any species the hegemony had ever encountered. Instead of forming organized military lines that could be broken by superior firepower, they scattered into small groups that attacked from unexpected directions. They used the city itself as a weapon, turning every building into a fortress and every street into a battlefield. In the ruins of a destroyed apartment building, Sergeant Mike Rodriguez led a squad of human soldiers against a Kralix patrol. The aliens had energy shields that stopped bullets and plasma weapons that could melt through concrete. By all military logic, the humans should have been slaughtered within minutes. Instead, Rodriguez had his men dump industrial acid through holes in the ceiling above the alien patrol. The acid ate through the energy shields and the cybernetic armor beneath. When the Kralix stumbled blindly through the chemical fog, human soldiers with simple metal knives finished them off. These primitives fight without honor, General Krextor reported to Commander Vextar. They use civilian areas for combat. They attack medical personnel. They refuse to follow proper military protocols. Vexitar studied the battle reports with growing confusion. The humans were taking massive casualties, but they were also inflicting damage on hegemony forces at rates that seemed impossible. Worse, they showed no signs of breaking morale despite their losses. Adapt your tactics, General, Vextar ordered. These humans are more resilient than expected, but they are still primitives. Use your superior technology to crush them. But the hegemony's superior technology was proving less effective than expected. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent the preparation time studying, captured alien equipment from the first landings. Working with a team of Earth's best scientists, she had made crucial discoveries about hegemony weaknesses. Their biotechnology is incredibly advanced, she explained to Admiral Chen during a brief break in the fighting. But it's also specialized. Their organisms are designed for quick conquests against civilized opponents. They're not optimized for extended urban warfare against an adaptive enemy. What does that mean in practical terms? Chen asked while coordinating defense efforts from her mobile command post. It means we can hurt them, Vasquez replied. Their energy shields work by recognizing incoming threats and deflecting them. But they're programmed to deflect military weapons. They don't recognize improvised attacks using civilian materials. This discovery spread quickly through human communication networks. Within hours, resistance fighters worldwide were learning to use household chemicals, industrial equipment, and modified civilian technology against the invaders. The hegemony found themselves facing weapons they had never encountered before and could not easily counter. In London, Captain James Macready led a group of volunteers in an assault on a hegemony supply depot. The aliens had established it in Hyde Park, protected by energy barriers and automated defense systems. Any conventional military assault would have failed instantly. Instead, Macready's team spent 3 days tunneling through the London Underground. They emerged directly beneath the depot and used modified fire extinguishers filled with liquid nitrogen to freeze the biological components of the alien defenses. When the system shut down from cold damage, human fighters swarmed the depot and captured valuable alien equipment. The most shocking moment came when Macready's team discovered they had taken alien prisoners, something that had never happened in 3,000 years of hegemony conquest. Several wounded Thesari drones were captured alive when their hive connection was severed by electromagnetic interference from human radio equipment. Ambassador Keth Moore, monitoring the battle from the flagship, watched these events with growing alarm. His worst fears about humanity were proving correct. The humans were not following any predictable pattern of behavior. They adapted faster than the hegemony could counter their tactics. "Commander," he reported to Vextar urgently, "I recommend we withdraw our ground forces and reassess our strategy. These humans are proving far more dangerous than anticipated." "Absolutely not," Vextar replied angrily. His energy form flared with wounded pride. "The hegemony does not retreat from primitives. We simply need to apply more force." But applying more force was not solving the problem. For every human killed, 2 more seemed to take their place. Worse, the humans were learning from every encounter. They studied captured alien equipment, questioned captured prisoners, and shared this intelligence instantly across their global networks. The turning point came in Beijing, where Colonel Zhang Wei made a discovery that changed everything. While examining a damaged hegemony bioship that had crashed during the initial landing, his engineering team found the vessel's weak point, a biological nerve center that controlled the entire organism. "It's like finding the brain of the ship," Zhang reported to Admiral Chen. "If we can damage this organ, the entire vessel becomes helpless." Chen immediately authorized the most desperate gambit in human history. Using modified nuclear weapons smuggled by volunteer suicide teams, human forces would attempt to destroy the bioships from within. It was almost certainly a suicide mission, but volunteers stepped forward without hesitation. Captain Marcus Torres led the assault team targeting the New York bioship. His team of 12 soldiers carried improvised nuclear devices into the massive vessel through damaged sections in its hull. They knew they would not survive the mission, but they also knew that destroying even one alien ship would prove that the hegemony could be defeated. The infiltration took 18 hours of crawling through alien tissue that tried to digest them alive. 3 team members were lost to the ship's internal defenses. 2 more were killed by Thesari warriors guarding critical systems. But Torres and his remaining soldiers reached the nerve center. "This is for Earth," Torres said as he activated the nuclear device. The explosion tore through the bioship like fire through paper. The massive vessel convulsed in what could only be described as agony before crashing into the Hudson River. The sight of the dying alien ship, broadcast live across the world, sent shockwaves through both human and hegemony forces. Commander Vextar felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. In all his centuries of conquest, he had never seen a hegemony bioship destroyed by primitives. "It should have been impossible. How?" he demanded from General Krextor. "The humans use nuclear weapons inside the ship, Commander. They sacrifice their own lives to damage our vessel. The tactic is—" Krextor struggled to find words. "It is beyond our tactical models. On Earth, the destruction of the bioship galvanized human resistance. If one alien ship could be destroyed, then all of them could be destroyed. The humans had found a way to hurt their seemingly invincible enemies." Dr. Vasquez made another crucial discovery while studying debris from the destroyed bioship. The alien vessels communicated with each other through biological quantum entanglement. If this connection could be disrupted, the remaining ships would lose coordination. "We can blind them," she explained to Admiral Chen. "Their ships are like organs in a single body. Cut the nervous system and they can't function properly." The plan that emerged was desperate but possible. Using the electromagnetic pulse technology that had already proven effective against the Sari drones, human forces would attempt to disrupt the bioship's communication network. It would require coordinated strikes on all remaining vessels simultaneously. As human forces prepared for their final assault, Ambassador Cathmore made a decision that would have been unthinkable just days earlier. He opened a secret communication channel to Admiral Chen. "Admiral, I am Cathmore of the Vreetak species. I serve the hegemony as a diplomat, but I cannot stand by and watch your species be destroyed for the crime of defending itself." Chen stared at the insectoid alien on her screen. "Why would you help us?" "Because you have shown something the galaxy has not seen for 3,000 years. The courage to fight for freedom against impossible odds. The hegemony has grown corrupt and arrogant. Perhaps it is time for a change." Cathmore provided crucial intelligence about the remaining bioship's vulnerabilities and defensive systems. With this information, human forces finalized their plans for the decisive battle. The war was about to reach its climax, and the hegemony was beginning to realize they had underestimated their enemy in ways that might cost them everything. 6 months had passed since the hegemony first arrived at Earth. What should have been a quick conquest had become a grinding war that shocked the alien empire to its core. Commander Vextar floated in his command chamber, staring at reports that made no sense according to everything he knew about warfare and conquest. The humans were still fighting. In 3,000 years of galactic domination, no species had resisted the hegemony for more than a few weeks. Most surrendered within days. The few that fought back were crushed quickly by overwhelming technological superiority, but these humans seemed to grow stronger the longer the war continued. "Status report," Vextar demanded from his increasingly nervous staff. General Krextor stepped forward, his cybernetic systems displaying holographic battle data. "Commander, our losses continue to mount. We have lost 60% of our ground forces. Enemy casualties are heavy, but their replacement rate exceeds our projections. They continue to adapt their tactics faster than we can counter them." "And our equipment failures?" Vextar asked, though he already knew the answer would displease him. "Increasing daily, Commander. The humans have developed biological weapons specifically designed to attack our biotechnology. They use modified Earth bacteria to corrode our equipment. Our weapons are failing at critical moments." Vexitar's energy form dimmed with frustration. The humans had done something no other species had ever accomplished. They had turned the hegemony's greatest strength into a weakness. Biotechnology was supposed to be superior because it could adapt and evolve, but the humans had somehow learned to make their own organisms evolve faster. Dr. Elena Vasquez had become the humans' secret weapon in this biological arms race, working in hidden laboratories around the world. She led teams of scientists who studied captured alien technology and developed countermeasures at an incredible pace. Where the hegemony took years to develop new biosystems, humans created counters in weeks. "The key insight," she explained to Admiral Chen during one of their brief meetings, "is that their biotechnology is perfect for conquest but terrible for adaptation. It's designed to overwhelm inferior opponents quickly, but we're not fighting them the way they expect." "What do you mean?" Chen asked while reviewing casualty reports that showed both the cost and effectiveness of human resistance. "Every other species they conquered tried to match their technology," Vasquez replied. "They built better weapons and stronger defenses. But we're not trying to out-tech them. We're using our natural advantages: creativity, adaptability, and absolute refusal to give up." This refusal to surrender continued to baffle the hegemony commanders. Colonel James McCready had become legendary among both human and alien forces for his innovative tactics. When conventional weapons failed, he used construction equipment as assault vehicles. When communications were jammed, he used trained birds to carry messages. When supplies ran low, he taught his soldiers to make explosives from alien corpses. The psychological impact on hegemony forces was severe. These aliens had spent millennia conquering species that fought with honor and logic. They understood enemies who retreated when outgunned and surrendered when defeat became inevitable. They had no experience dealing with humans who turned every setback into a new opportunity for revenge. In the ruins of Berlin, a squad of Thessary drones encountered this human mentality firsthand. The insect warriors had surrounded a human position and expected quick surrender when the humans ran out of ammunition. Instead, the humans began throwing rocks. When the rocks ran out, they used broken glass. When the glass ran out, they fought with their bare hands and teeth. The Thesari had never encountered enemies who became more dangerous as they became more desperate. Their tactical programming could not process this behavior. Several drones suffered complete system failures trying to analyze human combat patterns that made no logical sense. Ambassador Kethmore watched these events with growing admiration for human tenacity and growing fear for the consequences. He had secretly been providing intelligence to human forces, but his help was becoming harder to hide from Commander Vextar. Ambassador, Vextar confronted him during a private meeting. Your intelligence reports have become increasingly pessimistic. Some of my commanders question your loyalty to the hegemony. Kethmore's insectoid features remained calm, but internally he felt terror. Discovery would mean immediate execution. Commander, I report only what my studies reveal. These humans are unlike any species we have previously encountered. They require different tactics. What tactics do you recommend? Vextar asked suspiciously. Complete withdrawal, Kethmore replied honestly. We should leave this world and never return. The humans pose a threat to everything the hegemony represents. Vexitar's energy form flared with rage. You suggest we flee from primitives? That we abandon our conquest because insects with metal tools resist us? Your cowardice disgusts me. But Kethmore was not being cowardly, he was being realistic. His studies of human culture had revealed something that terrified him. These beings did not just fight to win battles. They fought to destroy enemies completely. Human history was filled with examples of total warfare that continued until one side was utterly annihilated. The hegemony had never faced an enemy that fought for complete victory, rather than acceptable terms of surrender. They did not understand that humans viewed this as a war for species survival, not a political dispute that could be negotiated. This fundamental misunderstanding led to the hegemony's next critical mistake. Instead of increasing military pressure, Commander Vextar decided to use psychological warfare. He ordered his forces to target human civilian populations, believing this would break their will to resist. The strategy backfired catastrophically. Instead of terrorizing humans into submission, attacks on civilians enraged them beyond reason. Every destroyed city produced thousands of new volunteers for suicide missions. Every killed civilian created families dedicated to total revenge against the invaders. Captain Marcus, Torres's sacrifice in destroying the New York bioship had inspired a new kind of human warrior. Volunteers who specialized in suicide attacks against alien positions. They called themselves Earth's Last Stand, and their motto was simple: take them with us. These human fanatics proved impossible for the hegemony to counter. They could not be bribed, threatened, or reasoned with. They turned their own bodies into weapons and struck at the most protected alien positions. Hegemony commanders found themselves unable to secure any location completely because humans would sacrifice their lives to penetrate any defense. The breaking point came when a group of human volunteers managed to infiltrate the London bioship using a tactic that shattered all hegemony military doctrine. They surgically implanted alien biotechnology into their own bodies, disguising themselves as wounded hegemony soldiers. The biological sensors could not distinguish them from actual aliens until they reached critical ship systems and detonated concealed explosives. This is impossible, General Krextor reported to Vextar after the London ship was destroyed. The humans modified their own biology to fool our security systems. They intentionally infected themselves with our organisms to achieve tactical advantage. Vextar stared at this report in complete incomprehension. The humans had mutilated their own bodies to kill aliens more effectively. No species in the galaxy was that desperate or that determined. Commander, Krextor continued nervously, our forces are beginning to show signs of combat fatigue. Some units are requesting transfer away from Earth. Others are deserting entirely. This news struck Vextar like a physical blow. Hegemony forces did not desert. They were bred and trained for absolute loyalty and perfect discipline. But the psychological pressure of fighting humans was breaking down soldiers who had conquered hundreds of worlds without hesitation. The humans had achieved something impossible. They had made the hegemony afraid. Dr. Vasquez made her most important discovery during this period. While studying the electromagnetic signatures of the remaining bioships, she realized that the alien vessels were not just communicating with each other. They were linked to every hegemony ship in the galaxy through quantum entanglement networks. If we can hack into their communication system, she explained to Admiral Chen, we might be able to send a signal throughout their entire empire. Let every species in the galaxy know that the mighty hegemony can be defeated. The plan was ambitious beyond anything humans had attempted before. Using technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment and intelligence provided by Ambassador Kethmore, they would turn the hegemony's communication network against itself. But first, they had to survive long enough to implement the plan. Commander Vextar, driven by wounded pride and growing desperation, was preparing to escalate the conflict in ways that would determine the fate of both species. 1 year after first contact, Commander Vextar made the decision that would seal the hegemony's fate. His pride could not accept that primitives had resisted his forces for so long. His arrogance would not allow him to request reinforcements from the Hegemony High Council, because that would mean admitting failure against inferior beings. We end this today, he announced to his remaining commanders. I will personally lead the final assault against the human strongholds. Every alien warrior still on this cursed world will participate. We will crush their resistance once and for all. General Krextor and the other commanders received this order with mixed feelings. They were exhausted from a year of brutal warfare against enemies who refused to fight by civilized rules. But Vextar's energy form blazed with such fury that none dared question his decision. On Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in her underground command bunker, surrounded by maps showing the global situation. Human losses had been enormous. Nearly 500 million people dead. Entire cities lay in ruins. But humanity had not broken. If anything, the survivors had become harder and more determined than ever. Operation Terran Fury is ready to begin, she announced to her staff. All units worldwide are in position. Dr. Vasquez, is the electromagnetic pulse system prepared? Dr. Elena Vasquez nodded grimly. For months she had worked with Ambassador Kethmore and human engineers to prepare the most desperate gamble in human history. They had turned Earth's entire communication network into a massive weapon designed to disrupt the bioship's quantum entanglement systems. The pulse generators are hidden in communication satellites, cell phone towers and radio stations across the planet, she reported. When we activate them simultaneously, it should create a planet-wide electromagnetic field, tuned specifically to interfere with Zephyrian energy forms. What are our chances of success? Chen asked. Kethmore, now openly serving as humanity's alien advisor, answered honestly. Unknown, Admiral. This has never been attempted before. But if it works, it will not only disrupt the bioships but send a signal through the hegemony's communication network that will be detected throughout the galaxy. And if it fails, then we all die together, Chen replied simply. But at least the galaxy will know that one species refused to surrender. The final battle began at dawn. Vextar descended from his flagship in his pure energy form, leading thousands of alien warriors in a coordinated assault on human positions worldwide. The hegemony threw everything they had left at humanity's remaining strongholds. In New York, the ruins of Manhattan became a battlefield unlike anything in human history. Kralix shock troops with their cybernetic enhancements faced human soldiers who had learned to modify their own bodies with captured alien technology. The fighting was savage beyond description. Colonel James McCready led the defense of Central Park, where humans had built a fortress from alien wreckage and human debris. His forces included regular soldiers, civilian volunteers, and even captured aliens who had defected to the human cause. They faced overwhelming odds with weapons cobbled together from 3 different technologies. Hold the line, McCready shouted as plasma beams from alien weapons turned concrete to vapor around him. Every minute we survive gives our people more time to prepare the pulse. Similar battles raged in London, Beijing, Moscow, and every other human stronghold. The hegemony pressed their attack with desperate fury, knowing that failure here would mean disgrace throughout the galaxy. But the humans had learned from a year of warfare. They no longer tried to fight the aliens directly. Instead, they used tactics that turned the invaders' strengths against them. When Thessari swarms attacked in perfect coordination, humans used sonic weapons to disrupt their hive communication. When Kralix troops advanced behind energy shields, humans collapsed buildings to bury them in rubble. The turning point came when Vextar himself entered the battle. His energy form blazed like a small sun as he struck down human defenders with beams of pure force. He was beautiful and terrible, a being of living light who had conquered more worlds than any other Zephyrian in history. Admiral Chen met him in personal combat in the ruins of the United Nations building. She wore experimental armor, reverse-engineered from alien technology, and carried weapons that human science had never imagined possible. But against a being of pure energy, physical equipment meant nothing. "You cannot win, primitive," Vextar spoke directly into her mind. "I have destroyed civilizations older than your species. Surrender now, and I may allow some of your kind to survive as slaves." "Go to hell," Chen replied, raising a weapon that Dr. Vasquez had designed specifically for this moment, a device that could disrupt energy patterns at the quantum level. The weapon fired, sending waves of electromagnetic interference directly into Vextar's energy form. The Zephyrian commander screamed in frequencies that human ears could not hear as his coherent energy pattern began to fluctuate wildly. At that exact moment, Dr. Vasquez activated Operation Terran Fury. Every communication device on Earth simultaneously generated an electromagnetic pulse tuned to disrupt Zephyrian energy forms and bioship quantum entanglement. The pulse spread outward from the planet like a wave of disruption that shattered the careful coordination of the hegemony forces. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the aliens. The remaining bioships convulsed as their communication networks failed. Zephyrian commanders found their energy forms flickering and unstable. Worst of all for the hegemony, the pulse carried human communication signals throughout their galactic network. Every world in the hegemony empire suddenly received the same message in 1,000 languages. "This is Earth. The hegemony can be defeated. The galaxy can be free." Commander Vextar felt his energy form breaking apart as the electromagnetic interference grew stronger. For the first time in his existence, he experienced true fear, not of death, but of failure so complete that it would destroy everything he believed about Zephyrian superiority. "Impossible," he whispered, as his coherent thought patterns began to dissolve. "We are the masters of the galaxy. We cannot be defeated by primitives." Admiral Chen stood over his fading form. "You made one mistake," she told him. "You thought we would fight like every other species you conquered. But humans don't fight to negotiate surrender terms. We fight to completely destroy enemies who threaten our children's future." Vextar's energy form scattered into random photons, leaving only empty air where the greatest hegemony commander had once floated. Without their Zephyrian leaders, the remaining alien forces on Earth began fighting each other as old species rivalries emerged. Krallick's troops turned on Thessari swarms. Other alien species tried to escape the planet entirely. The unified hegemony force collapsed into chaos within hours. The human electromagnetic pulse had done more than defeat the invasion. It had sent proof of human victory throughout the galactic communication network. On thousands of worlds, enslaved species received the message that the mighty hegemony could be beaten by inferior numbers and primitive technology. Within weeks, rebellion broke out across the galaxy. Species that had served the hegemony for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom meant. They used human tactics learned from the broadcast signals, asymmetric warfare, suicide attacks, and absolute refusal to surrender. The 3,000-year reign of the Zephyrian hegemony began crumbling as their arrogance was exposed as weakness throughout the galaxy. On Earth, the surviving human population began the long work of rebuilding their world. They had paid a terrible price for freedom. Billions dead, cities destroyed, an entire planet scarred by warfare. But they had proven something important to themselves and the galaxy. Humans would never accept slavery. Ambassador Kethmore, now serving as Earth's first alien diplomat, addressed the newly formed Galactic Liberation Council from the ruins of New York. Representatives from dozens of species that had thrown off hegemony rule gathered to hear the lessons learned from humanity's victory. The hegemony fell because they believed their own propaganda, he explained. They thought superior technology and ancient tradition made them invincible. They forgot that freedom is worth any sacrifice to those who truly understand its value. Admiral Chen, now promoted to head of Earth's defense forces, stood beside him. "We didn't win because we were stronger," she added. "We won because we refused to lose. Sometimes that's the only advantage you need." The galaxy would never be the same. The age of the hegemony was over. brought down by a species they had dismissed as primitive. In its place rose something new, an alliance of free worlds united by the simple principle that any being willing to fight for freedom deserved the chance to be free. Earth had become more than humanity's homeworld. It had become a symbol that even the mightiest empires could fall when faced with people who valued liberty more than life itself. The humans had kept their promise. They had never surrendered, and in refusing to surrender, they had changed the course of galactic history forever.